If your business depends on just being liked by as many people as possible, you do not have a referral strategy, you have a popularity contest with a commission structure. And here's what I see it costing my beloved agents out there. It costs them stability, confidence, and real time. Not because relationships don't matter. I am not saying that. They absolutely do. Of course they do. It is ubiquitous across all business models. Real estate is purely at its heart and essence, it is a relationship business because homes are never just assets. They are money, timing, identity, fear, family, memory, risk, change, all these very human aspects of our lives. But telling people, telling agents to just go out there and build those relationships without helping them understand what they bring to those relationships, that is incomplete advice. And incomplete advice repeated long enough will erode trust between the broker and the agent, the broker giving them this advice but not telling them how. It erodes self-confidence. It erodes self-confidence because agents begin to think, I must be doing the most basic of human activities wrong. And then we wonder why good agents burn out, lose confidence, or start believing that the problem is them. Welcome back to Renovating Real Estate. I'm Sandy McMaster, and each week here I try to talk about topics underneath the idea of renovating real estate, the industry we all care so much about. I do this using the identity ops methodology because I think most agents and brokers never truly operationalize what makes them different, and it really does point back to what I began with. If we understand what truly makes us different, then we can bring something to these relationships and we can get much more strategic and pointed about building relationships. And so that's why I want to talk about the advice agents listening probably got at least 10 times already this week. In some other form, is in the many forms and fashions of go build relationships. Have you contacted your people? Are you being seen? Have you articulated your value? All these things is just flavors of the same advice, which is just go build relationships so that you can get referrals. Stay top of mind. And I want to say this all very carefully because the point is not that relationships aren't needed or that they're bad for business. No. The point is that build relationships is just not useful enough as training advice. It's a little like telling somebody who is desperate to change their health, somebody who wants to get healthy and eat well and exercise, to just go to the gym. Well, yeah, of course, no kidding. But if that were the whole instruction, it just doesn't help that much. It's just not very useful because the value is not in the obvious advice. The value is in the nuance of how. How do you eat well when you are tired, stressed, no sleep, busy, surrounded by bad options? How do you exercise when you don't know what your body actually really needs or what your goal is or what you can actually sustain? The better version of that question in real estate is how do you build relationships in an oversaturated industry, an underperforming market, an uncertain future, and where information is cheaper than ever, more accessible than ever to consumers? Now, while that's a better caliber question, it's also one that is much harder to answer. And that's the part we're skipping as a training arm of the industry. And when we skip it, here's what relationship building quietly turns into. That advice, go build relationships, quietly turns into be likable, stay visible, check in, remind people you exist, be top of mind. Hope enough people remember you so that when the moment arrives, they call you. That's not strategy. That is an exhaustive popularity contest. And I've watched it cost agents, as I mentioned, stability, confidence, and real time. How does it really affect stability? Because your business becomes dependent on it's almost like a gerbil on a wheel. It depends on constant social maintenance. You're always wondering if you have posted enough, texted enough, called enough, showed up enough, stayed memorable enough. It costs confidence because you start measuring your value by other people's response patterns. Who replied, who liked the post, who invited you to the whatever, who remembered you, who forgot you. Oh, and it just starts to all feel so personal, right? And lastly, it costs real time because relationship building can quickly erode into bothering people about real estate without a clear reason to be calling them or to be at the place at all. And that is not a service. That is anxiety with a fancy CRM attached to it. And that's not fun or good for either party. A relationship is not automatically valuable just because it exists. A relationship becomes valuable when there's trust, usefulness, safety, and clarity inside of this interaction. So the real question is not should agents build relationships? The better question is what do you bring to the relationship once you get there? Other than your license, market updates, just being generally likable, other than I'd love to help anyone you know who's buying or selling. Because while that's beautiful likability and it can open a door, credibility is what allows someone to trust you with what happens next. Credibility is what lets you tell somebody the truth when it is not the news they wanted. Credibility is what allows you to set boundaries without making the relationship feel colder. And credibility is what turns visibility into real trust. And it comes from knowing what problem you solve. This is where I think agents need to make a more honest decision. And it's fairly simple. And you know, there is no wrong answer here. There's only an honest one. Are you building a business that simply sells real estate? Or are you building a business that solves people's problems through real estate or with real estate? Both involve transactions, both involve relationships, both may include referrals, but they are not the same business under the hood. A business that sells real estate is always trying to stay top of mind, and it's always hoping a referral is around the corner. It's almost like you feel that commission breath coming right through the phone. That is selling. Does it work? Yep, it can. Some people make a very, very good living doing that. But a business that solves problems is being the obvious person because they're always asking, what does the other person to the person on the other side of me, what do they really need today? And am I the real and right person to provide it? That is a different posture altogether. That is somebody who's asking, well, one is asking, who should I contact today? They're like, that's the selling real estate side of it. One is asking, who can I contact? Who can I contact? It's almost like that chase, right? While the other is asking, what do I understand that would make somebody feel safer, clearer, or better prepared? One is counting contacts. The other is making contacts that count. And yes, I am not here to say exposure doesn't matter. Exposure matters. It absolutely does. People need to know you exist. You cannot be a secret agent. No one can hire you if they do not know you are there. But the kind of exposure matters. If you are only selling, you may need endless exposure because every person is just another possible transaction. But if you are solving for a specific problem, for a specific kind of person, you need less exposure, but to the right audience. You've got to get real clear on who that is. It is a completely different posture. It changes the way you show up in the world. It changes the way you follow up with people. It changes the way you onboard clients. And brokers, it changes the way you train agents. It changes the way you decide who and what is worth your time. Changes your boundaries too. Because if your business depends on being liked, boundaries will feel like a betrayal. They will feel very, very scary. Every no feels like a risk. Every hard truth feels dangerous. Pricing conversations feel like you are threatening the relationship. But if your business is built on credibility, boundaries become part of the service. They do not make you less caring. They make you more useful. Because sometimes the most valuable thing you can give someone isn't agreement, it's clarity. And this is why I think some of the current messaging to agents, it needs to be challenged. Lately, I have seen a lot of messaging that quietly suggests that if an agent is struggling, the problem is always them. They're not consistent enough, not social enough, not disciplined enough, not confident enough, not willing. And look, sometimes that is all true. Some people were never, ever going to do the work. Some people got a license and never intended to build a profession around it. But for the professionals who are, the professionals worth keeping, encouraging, developing, it takes so much more nuance than counting contacts. It takes skill, attention, helping agents understand what they bring to a relationship before demanding that they go build more of them. So maybe, just maybe, the better onboarding question is not who's in your sphere. Maybe it's, what do you solve? Who do you solve it for? What do people trust you to see clearly? What truth are you willing to tell? What boundaries make your service better? What do you bring to the relationship other than access, availability, and a license? Because agents do not just need a bigger database. They need a clearer operating model with it. They need to know whether they are building a business that depends on likability or a business that earns credibility. Those are not the same. Their daily lives are dramatically different. If you want the deeper breakdown on this, it is in Substack essay, but here is the practical test. Before you reach out to the next person in your database, ask yourself, why am I really contacting them? What do I have to offer that is actually useful? What decision, risk, pattern, opportunity, or question can I help them see more clearly? And if the answer is only I need to stay top of mind, pause. Because while that may be honest, that is not being of service. At least not yet. At least not yet. Service starts when your presence helps someone think better, decide better, prepare better, or feel more grounded in a moment that matters. That's the difference. So no, I do not think agents should stop building relationships. I don't think you should stop telling them to build relationships. I just think we should all stop treating relationships like a substitute for a strategy. The new era will not reward the agents who are merely the most visible. The future is going to reward the agents who are credible, specific, discerning, and very useful. The agents who can say, here is what I see, here is what I would be careful about, here is what I would do if this were my decision, here is where I think you are safer waiting, here is where I think you need to move. That is not just relationship building. That, my friends, is leadership. And leadership, that is what makes a referral so meaningful. Because when somebody refers you, they are not just passing along a name, they are putting their trust behind your judgments. So agents, know this. You need to decide what you want. Agents, let me say it again. Decide what you want. Decide what business you are building, a business that sells real estate or one that solves people's problems in the real estate realm. Just start there. Then look for the helpers, because the future of this business does not need more popularity contests. I might even throw in TikTok dances with that. It needs more professionals who know what they solve, who they serve, and what kind of trust they are here to earn. And if there is a universal operator takeaway here, it is this. Relationships. Now, they may open the room for you, but credibility, that is what lets you do the work once you're inside the room. For more, you can subscribe to the Substack, read the full essay and the tools behind it. And if this gave you a cleaner way to think about referrals and relationships, forward it to an agent or a broker who is either tired of being told to just get out there, build relationships, or they're tired of saying it without being given a roadmap. Lastly, if you want the operating system, well, that, my friends, that is what Identity Ops is all about. Until next week.